Chapter 28. What Comes After Survival. Barriers that don't die easily. Even with my CPSS certification in hand and nearly 2 decades separating me from the injustice that wrecked my life, I couldn't escape its shadow. I wanted to work, really work, not just to survive, but to reclaim who I used to be before the system stole my career, my name, and a part of my sense of self. I knew applying for jobs in the mental health field meant facing questions, silence, and rejection. But I also had something new, a letter from the Orange County Rape Crisis Center. Years earlier during my marriage, something had started to shift. Memories I had buried, or couldn't make sense of, surfaced through nightmares and intimacy triggers. I reached out to OCRCC, unsure if I even qualified for help, but they didn't ask me to prove anything. They listened, they believed me, and most importantly, they put into words what no legal system ever had. Sometimes the person labeled perpetrator is the one who was harmed. The letters they wrote, one for the Social Work Licensure Board, another for potential employers, became my lifelines. They couldn't undo the conviction, but they gave me something the courts never did: recognition of truth. First steps, first falls. By early 2022, I had my certification. It was time to return to the field. I was hired part-time by Cottage Healthcare Services in February, my first mental health job in years. It was rewarding, if modest. I worked closely with a few clients and saw the change I could make. Still, I needed more: full-time work, stability, validation. So when RHA offered me a full-time position as a CPSS in April, on my birthday no less, I jumped. Before quitting Cottage, I was cautious. My IPS worker and vocational rehab counselor reminded me, don't give notice until you're absolutely sure RHA knows about the background. I disclosed everything. The man who hired me believed in me. He said he'd fight for me. And when he gave me the green light, I believed I could finally move on. I started at RHA in May. After Memorial Day weekend, they told me not to meet with anyone. I was called into a private meeting. We don't think this role is the right fit. No explanation. Just turn in your badge. Later, a coworker told me what I feared. Someone had flagged my background. 18 years later, the lie was still closing doors, breaking through the wall. Then in July, Freedom House Recovery Center hired me. I disclosed everything again. This time, the HR rep glanced at the OCRCC letter and said something I'll never forget. Unless you're a serial killer, you're fine. She was joked, but not really. It was the first time someone in HR responded with humanity. I started work in August 2022, assigned to the Mobile Crisis Unit. I would be meeting clients across several counties, often at their homes, children, families, adults, anyone in crisis. For the first time, I wasn't haunted by the past. No one at Freedom House treated me with suspicion based on the past criminal conviction. I didn't have to explain or justify my existence. Clients didn't know, and they were not going to know. I knew it was not relevant to what lies Anna told long ago. My supervisor didn't know. It didn't matter. What mattered was the work. I was good at it. Really good. I saw it in how people opened up to me. I saw it in how I could read body language again. I wasn't afraid anymore. I didn't feel like an imposter. I wasn't walking into rooms as a man carrying shame. I was a professional offering help. A new kind of recognition. Sharisi, my supervisor, saw my potential. She knew I had a background in social work. When I asked her for a reference for my application to regain my social work licensure as an LCSWA, she hesitated, not because she doubted my goodness, but because she hadn't worked closely enough with me to confidently recommend me for clinical practice. Still, she encouraged me. I had been working for over a year with her when an important conversation occurred. At one point, she even brought up RH as a place I might apply again. I paused. I had worked there, but do you know why they let me go? I asked her. She didn't. So I told her. I was assaulted in 2004, and yet I was the one arrested. I had been convicted of a violent felony. She looked stunned. You, she said, you couldn't hurt anyone. I'd fight someone before you would. That moment, that validation, was something I'd been chasing for almost 2 decades. I said emphatically, thank you. She was noticing what should have been obvious to everyone, including the police back in 2004. The weight of love and lies. During this time, I tried dating again. I met someone, Cody Renee. She knew about my conviction and still chose to see me. That alone felt rare. I stayed longer than I should have, not because I was happy, but because I didn't want to lose the one person who didn't reject me outright. But even that came with emotional complexity. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't fully myself. And eventually the relationship ended. Cody Renee had lumped me in with others who had hurt her. It didn't matter that I was different. It still hurt. And yet there was a moment during all of this, a moment I'll never forget, when I realized that the people who truly knew me didn't just believe me. They knew I was incapable of violence. Shirase saw it. My clients felt it. I knew it. If it were not for criminal record databases, we would have to rely on our instincts, just like my cat had. Moving on, for a little while, I thought I had made it. I thought the past had loosened its grip. I was helping people. I was thriving. I had finally returned to the field that gave my life meaning. But then came the cuts, budget changes. Freedom House began dissolving, the mobile crisis team. They offered me another job on the detox unit. I thought it was a generic crisis unit. If I had known what that job really was, I might have said no. It wasn't just unfamiliar. It wasn't therapeutic. It felt like a jail, not a place of healing. But that's a story for another chapter.